Hey, Radar here with you. Radar's Bush Camp. It's I don't know, Friday morning. Yay, weekend's coming. Um, as you noticed, I'm sitting in the chair again. I'm having that hip surgery on Monday, so I haven't been up and around too much because I'm a little bit sore, and it's cold and rainy and windy outside. But anyway, I saw where there's a flight missing in Alaska, and 10 people on board that went down between Nome and Unalakleet. And I just want to do a video about, I flew in Alaska for a lot of years and was a bush pilot up there. And Alaska flying's dangerous. And this happens all the time up there. It's not like it's an unfortunate thing, but it's just the nature of the beast. Alaska, all of the weather that we get in the lower 48 comes from Alaska. I used to fly out of Bethel and Antioch. I also was a station manager in Kotzebue for Udair, Alaska, and was a senior pilot. And I've got probably 8 or 9 thousand hours flying in Alaska. I don't know the exact amount of time, but the picture of that aircraft that's on the thumbnail for this video is 6282 Hotel is a Cessna 207, and I've got about 4,000 hours just in that airplane alone. And I flew that airplane in Dillingham, Bethel, Antioch, and also in Kotzebue because it was kind of my aircraft when I was working for the company. And first of all, we need to pray for all those people that are lost up there. And I mean, seriously, pray because the chances of finding them is going from Nome to Unalakleet. They probably went down out there in the strait, and you hit that water. Matter of fact, we used to talk about if you had to go down. We used to fly to Nunivak Island from Bethel all the time, and you can't go out there unless it's a multi-engine aircraft because you could. With the FAA regulations, you have to have multi-engine aircraft to fly over the water unless you could get high enough to glide to land from wherever you're coming from, which you can do in a single engine going to Nunivak, but the weather's usually not to where you could get high enough where you could actually glide back to the mainland where you left from or to get to Nunivak. So you usually use multi-engine aircraft. That Caravan is a turbine, so they can use those to fly across the water like that. But we used to talk about if you had to go down in that water, all of us would drill the airplane in the water as hard as we could and hopefully kill everybody when you hit the water. And I know that sounds morbid, but it's better than freezing to death in that water because you will not last 5 minutes in that water, if that. Even in a survival suit, which we don't carry in the aircraft, but it's just that stuff is so cold. It's amazing. You can't imagine because it's salt water, so it doesn't freeze at 32 degrees. It's a colder temperature depending on the salinity of the water as to what it actually freezes at. So it might look like open water, and it could be the water temperature could be 28 degrees. So, like I say, you hit that stuff, and you won't spend any time in it. You're just going to hypothermia almost immediately. So you're going to see probably because of the aircraft accidents that we had last week, they're probably going to show more about what's going on in Alaska. And that's not a new thing. Every week in Alaska, I had a friend or somebody that I knew died, especially in the winter because of an aircraft accident. Like I say, all the weather's formed for the lower 48 up there, and flying out of Bethel, I have seen 13 individual low pressure systems in one area about the size of Wyoming, Idaho, and Colorado. So imagine 13 different storm systems in that small of space. I know it sounds like a big space, but it really isn't. Um, I've got stories where I should have died several times over, but being a crop duster, I was used to flying close to the ground. That didn't bother me, and I never wrecked an airplane. Knock on wood. I've never dinged a prop. I've been very fortunate. And the Eskimos used to laugh about how Jesus Christ actually sits on my shoulder. I don't have a guardian angel because there's times that I should have cracked airplanes up, and I was one of the higher paid pilots in Alaska in the 90s. Shapley Howell and I were the two highest paid pilots of anybody up there, not just our company, but of all the companies, because we were good at doing this stuff. I can fly in bad weather, and I can fly. You're not allowed to fly IFR on the gauges with a single engine aircraft. So there's all these little ways and means that are legally available to get around going IFR if you need to in a single engine aircraft. And Shapley and I were really good at that. Like they actually, when they had a medevac or something, when the weather was really crappy, one of us would get the phone call. And usually it was me because I was younger and Shapley was getting to be a little bit older. But we made really good money flying up there. But again, I should have been dead 100 times over, and it's just by the grace of God that I didn't. So in Alaska, that's not. It's a sad thing, but it's a sad reality of flying in Alaska. So I imagine, like I say, you're going to see a lot more videos that come up in news, or newspaper articles or whatever on the internet, articles on the internet about aircraft accidents in Alaska. And I'll get back on it at some point, share some of my stories about it. But it's just dangerous. It's always been dangerous. Summertime even is dangerous. I've picked up ice in the summer on the aircraft that I got ice so bad, you had to find some place to land to get the ice off the airplane. And I'd rather land out in the middle of nowhere on the side of a mountain and get the ice off of it. And we're talking in the picture of that aircraft in a tricycle geared aircraft. It wasn't like everybody thinks we're in float planes or we've got, wheel skis on all the time. And that's not it. 90% of the flying that's done in Alaska is done with single engine aircraft. 207s and now Caravans, which is a turbine single engine aircraft. And they're more dependable. And with the turbine, because of the dependability of the engine versus a reciprocal engine, which is what normal aircraft have, and then turbine is a jet engine. So basically, a Caravan is a turboprop. They will allow them to fly over the water. So, sadly, I don't think they're going to find them. I think it looks like from their flight path that they probably went down out there in the strait, and I forgot the name of that bay there. But I've flown all that. I've flown from one end of that state to the other because I spent 10 years flying. And like I say, I don't know, it might even be closer to 10,000 hours flying up there because most of my time I have probably about 8,000 hours crop dusting, and the rest of it was flying in Alaska. So we need to pray for those people. If you go to Alaska, the pilots are awesome. I mean, but sometimes stuff happens, and when it happens up there, aviation in and of itself is not inherently dangerous. It's just very unforgiving of mistakes. So if you make a mistake, which might not even be your mistake, it might be you miscalculated the weather. But up there, you could get a weather report, and it doesn't really mean anything because the weather can change in 2 minutes. It's just that's the way it is in Alaska. So I just thought I'd put this out there. I'll tell some stories about some of my Alaska flying and guiding and stuff up there later on, but I just thought I'd put this out there. But let's pray for everybody that was on that aircraft. And Bering Air is an awesome company. They've been up there forever. I had a lot of friends that worked for Bering Air back in the day, and I just pray for everybody. I hope that they're all right, but I honestly don't think this is going to work out very well, sadly. Anyhow, y'all have a good day. Again, pray for everybody on that flight, and take care of yourselves and have a good weekend.